All right, so we're going to take this week to review some of the chapters that you guys have read, but we haven't covered in depth in class. The first two chapters are the ones from this production management book that I scanned for you guys onto Canvas. This is the one by Cleve, Bastian Cleve. So, a lot of this we covered in roundabout ways in class, but I just want to give you a little bit more coherent of an overview as you guys are reviewing and internalizing this information. So let's talk about pre-production, and this is specifically focusing on the production manager responsibilities in pre-production. So a good production manager or line producer, AD, can read over even a treatment or a script and really give a first glance read through for a clue at expenses and to know, is this a $100,000 or a $2 million film? But even when they can do that, they still really need to break down all of the elements to industry standards to get a good idea of what a film will cost and what it needs to actually make it happen. And that's where those script breakdown sheets come in that are always one per scene. And we've gone over those. So you have some information, of course, on the top of the breakdown sheet that's standard across everything: production company, production title, the breakdown page number. That's your kind of your fact checker to make sure you're on track. Day, night, these are kind of the no-brainer ones. Your section of boxes of what your sheet may have, you might change that because of the production. Like you may have no stunts, so you remove that as an option. But you'd want to keep those the same across the board for every scene. Don't change it for some scenes. That's where you have extra notes if there's something that only appeared in one scene. You don't want to change your whole breakdown sheet for that. And keep your color code consistent throughout. And remember, you start with your script, you circle things in the colors or you tag them in Final Draft, and then you put them into the breakdowns. And software makes life easier, like Studio Binder. So the production manager and first AD may also do a couple other breakdowns that make life easier, like a cast and scene number breakdown, so you can quickly see how many scenes a cast member is in, and that's before you do your day out of days report. That's just so you get a good feel of how many scenes is this person really in. The location and scene breakdown, so that you see how many times are we using these locations before you go try to figure them out. So your production manager and first AD really make the most comprehensive everything breakdowns, but guys, all department heads make some form of breakdowns. They're just different for each department. Your director of photography is breaking down what's needed for camera, lighting, grip. Your production designer is breaking down in depth for production design. But all those breakdown sheets get made and then sent back to the production manager to review. If you don't have a production manager, they go to the line producer or the first AD. All of this stuff gets collected to review and make sure, oh, production design has this huge setup. There's a Thanksgiving meal that has to get made that will be eaten during the scene, and we need 6 different turkeys. Okay, we need to make sure we have access to ovens, and there's got to be time for the production design team to go cook a meal or have it delivered in. Those are concerns that might get overlooked by just the PM or AD breakdown sheets. So that's why everyone submits their sheets so that you can double check this stuff. It feels like a lot of redundancy in circles, but it's how you make sure when you actually get to shoot, you have the resources you need and the time to do it. So strip boards, right? You've read your script, you've made your breakdowns, now you're going to make your strip boards. If you're using software, it just imports easily, but no matter what, it's 1 strip per scene, and it's 1 strip per location change, meal, if you have a banner of information, any of that stuff, it's 1 strip. And then there's 1 strip, basically the space of a strip, that says the end of the day, that says how much shooting time there was or scheduled shoot time there was, and how many pages were done. So the AD makes it, the production manager approves it, then the director approves it. A lot of times the producer also will review it first, but the director is the one who gets in trouble. The director is the one whose head is on the block if the shooting schedule doesn't get met. There used to be a time at Regent when if the schedule went over, the director is the person who would get fined if they went over schedule. But the person who's going to the producer's office to get yelled at is the director. And there are a lot of productions that will take overtime out of the director's pay. So the director needs to approve the strip board and shooting schedule in advance. All right, now here are some of my scheduling tips. Once you've thrown the strips into the software or you've made your pieces of paper or put it in Excel, I tell my software to order it by location and then by scene number, so it's still going in chronological order. Then I put in base shooting time estimates for each scene. So if we have an outdoor scene that we know is going to take 6 hours, that's very different from a exterior establishing shot that's an eighth of a page and is going to take 30 minutes to get. Then I arrange each location for the best flow. I generally put exteriors first, and I just consider day and nighttime. If it's going to be, we have daytime exteriors and nighttime exteriors, and we've got some stuff in the middle that's shot inside, we might do real day exteriors, then do some interiors, and then go back out for the night exteriors. Or if we're at a location for 2 days, I'll try to not do that ping pong back and forth. We'll do all of the daytime exteriors, interiors, then start the next day with interiors, and then do the night exteriors, so we're not bouncing around back and forth. Another tip is try to put, if you have a long shoot, let's say you have a 6-week long shoot, even if it's, a 2-day long shoot, try to put your easier material at the beginning of the shoot. So as people are getting to know each other and are getting into the flow, and if there are any gear problems, you don't get so messed up. And then also at the end of the shoot, for as people are burning out, if you dovetail and put the hardest stuff when everyone's in a good groove, it works better. Also try to put exteriors first so that if there is a weather issue, you could switch to interiors. I try to have a rainy day scheduled so that if we have a rain day, there's a day already scheduled to plug in and replace that day that is actors who are on the whole shoot, so we don't have to worry about trying to jump around. So it's like a series of scenes at one location that only have maybe 2 principal actors. I'll try to bank those so that that's a day that we can put in if there's a rain day, if we have a lot of exteriors, and it's not going to be a lot of jumping around to figure out how can we shuffle things. Sometimes it's not possible to have that save day. I try. So once you've made kind of your nice ideal schedule for production flow, then I look at the other considerations like actor and location availability. If we need to minimize days for high expense items like name talent, like you might have to jump between locations because you're combining everything with one actor in the same couple of days. Another consideration is if there are days that can be skeleton crew instead of full crew, like A unit, B unit. Are there entire days that way, or are there some shots that can get relegated to a B unit so you're not using up all of your resources? If you have exterior establishers that don't have any cast in them, you do not need your full crew. You don't need hair, makeup, wardrobe. You don't need all those people. So schedule them in such a way that those shots don't eat up time and you don't have people sitting around doing nothing. So now here are some rules, right? We've talked about these, but let's just recap them again. Most indie shoots, 12 hours is your maximum amount of time. Most union shoots, 10 hours is your max. And that does include all setup, travel between locations, meals, wrap time, all of it. Start to finish, 12 hours. Now, if you are out of town and you have a call time for transpo that leaving the hotel, so you got to be in the lobby at 8 a.m. to make it to set by 9 a.m. Or if you're going from, say, Regent, you're meeting in the parking lot and traveling to your location, and maybe it's 4 hours away, that 4 hours of time counts, guys. The travel time counts. It's not the same as doing a local shoot where your first call is the first location and everyone's responsible for getting themselves there from their homes. So be careful. If you're going to drive 4 hours away and you got to drive 4 hours back in the same day, that's 8 hours. Then you get 4 hours total time on location to shoot. So it may not be possible to get what you need, or you may need to do an overnight there and it's 4 hours of travel, or you just treat it as a local shoot. These are important considerations. The other important rule, meals must be every 6 hours. So you schedule lunch as close to 6 hours in as possible, never more than 6 hours. But if you schedule too early, then you might have to do a second meal. Meals on set must be at least 30 minutes long from the time the last person goes through the line. So that's when you start your timer for when you can go back in. So I always schedule at least 45 minutes for lunch because it's impossible for everyone to get their food immediately when you call lunch. And then your turnaround time, which is the time from the end of your shoot day to the start of the next shoot day, has to be at least 12 hours on most shoots. Some have other rules, but guys, it's a really bad idea to violate it. People need time to go shower, decompress, sleep, answer some emails, have breakfast. Even if you're offering breakfast on set, they need that time, guys, to not go insane. The SAG rules for rest days are that after 6 days, if you're on a travel shoot where you're overnight, you have to get 36 consecutive hours of rest. If it's a local shoot where people are sleeping in their own beds at night, it's 56 hours after 6 days. From experience, guys, if you're shooting 6-day shoots and then only give people off 36 hours, it is grueling and exhausting. I am personally far more of a fan of shoot 5 12-hour days and then take 2 full days off and start again than trying to push through and do 6-day weeks, because it just gets exhausting. There are a lot of reasons why productions do that, to save money on putting people up if they're from out of town, on gear rentals, and on just getting it done faster. But anything beyond like 2 weeks, if you're not giving people that time, they really start to burn out. They start getting goofy and the stress goes up and they start making mistakes. Call sheets must be sent out at least 12 hours in advance of call time. You cannot say, we'll send you the call sheet in the morning for the afternoon call. 12 hours. It's really important to meet that, or else people get, one, they may not show up, and 2, they get really anxious. That 12 hours essentially gives them that turnaround, that now they know what time they need to be somewhere so they can stack their sleep accordingly. And especially when you're on shoots where sometimes call time is in the middle of the night, you do not want to push this time, because people need to know and they need to be free to go to sleep. So a couple of my personal scheduling tips. Schedule your walkthroughs in your timing, right? When you get to a new location, schedule time for department head walkthrough. Don't forget about setup time, transition times, your time from shooting one side of a scene to another side where you need major lighting changes, transitions of packing up gear into vehicles and changing locations, and your wrap time. Don't forget about those. These are my student shoot minimums. When you look at the shot list the director gives you and you go, okay, well, you have this many shots and they're these types. These are my personal rules. Never schedule less than 20 minutes for shots on sticks, unless it's like a quick insert, of a phone. If you're getting an insert close up of a phone, maybe that's less. But anything with dialogue and some substance on the shot, because you want to make sure you get at least 2 good takes. It's very rare you will only have 2 takes. So think about your total roll time, right? If you have a page-long shot and you need to shoot it 5 times, you've got 20 to 30 seconds to slate and settle, a minute of roll time, and then notes. So that 1 minute shot to get it 5 times is going to take you 20 minutes. It takes a minute for adjustments to happen. It takes a minute for setting up the shot and framing it up in the first place. And then bare minimum for 40 minutes on any form of dolly, easy jib, Steadicam, gimbal type shots. A lot of those actually take a lot more time to set up the gear in the first place. So that does not include gear setup time. That's your time to get the shot and make sure it's right. Now, a lot of professional shoots with teams who have worked together may be able to move faster than that. Some of them will take more time because they can budget it, and it really should get that time. But for students, if you're shooting for a schedule where it's tighter than that, odds are very good that you will not meet your schedule. So set yourself up for success and don't have to be sitting there on set going, what shots are we cutting? Go ahead and plan it in advance. And you're going to plan your shots for speed. What is going to take longer, changing wardrobe or changing lights? And that does vary on sets. How important is it emotionally to shoot a scene continuously versus shooting the two sides separately? Those are things you got to think about. Will a B cam save time, or will it add time because your lighting people aren't that great? So some assistant director tips. Don't send the call sheet out too early. You need to send it out that 12 hours in advance. But if it's not locked and it's a preliminary call sheet for feedback, only send it to your department heads so that they can have that feedback and that input. If you send it out too early, people will tend to make plans around the schedule as if it's locked. And this is on the indie low budget film shoots. Bigger shoots, people really do block off their entire days, and they are aware that the call sheet may change and they're staying on top of it. But on anything that is student level or indie level, don't send it out too early. People will make plans as if it's locked. When you do send out the call sheet, especially the very first day or to any new people who didn't receive call sheets, confirm receipt. I send a text message after you email it and ask for, read receipt. Use something like Studio Binder where they can click receipt and then follow up if you don't get the receipt on that first day. It's courtesy to send everyone the call sheet on crew and principal cast so that they can see if they're not on call, even if they're not there. Like extras, no, you don't send them the call sheet the days that are not their days, but lead actors, that way they can see, oh yes, it's confirmed, it still looks like I have the day off. So those are a couple tips. Again, that was going over chapter 3 from Cleve. It's recapping things we've talked about in class in different ways, but I just wanted to go through the book in a more coherent manner, and I will keep working through these for you guys to watch over while I am gone this week. And then you'll have your 2 quizzes and keep working on wrapping up your midterm projects and moving forward on your finals. Take care.